Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. I'm so glad that you are here to hang out with me a little bit and talk books today. I am going to be doing a try a chapter tag with 5 books that were very recently recommended to me by a bookologist. One of the librarians in my library system chose some books for me based on a form that I filled out. I went over all the recommendations in a video pretty recently, and I went ahead and put on hold the 4 books that I did not own, and then I grabbed the one off my shelf that I did own. I got 10 recommendations altogether, and 5 of them I had already read and really enjoyed. So I'm really hopeful for these 5 books today. Let me tell you real quickly what they are. 3 of them actually I've never heard of before, so I don't know anything about these 3. But this one looks like a Regency romance, Something in the Air by Suzanne Enoch. I know that this couple has a marriage of convenience, and it's going to be about their marriage. I think originally it was a marriage of convenience, but probably one or the other caught feelings. That's what I'm thinking. But it's going to be a book about their marriage. This one, Agatha of Little Neon by Claire Luchette. I really know nothing about this one other than what was told to me in that video, but I can't even remember. Someone told me it's something about nuns. Agatha has lived every day of the last 9 years with her sisters. They work together, laugh together, pray together. Their world is contained within the little house they share. When the parish goes broke, the sisters are forced to move. And it just kind of follows this group of nuns, I believe. I don't know if there's a mystery involved. I don't want to read more than that. I just want to kind of go in pretty blind. I'm excited for that. Then this one I was really excited about when I saw what the little blurb about it in my recommendation from the librarian. This is The Sunset Years of Agnes Sharp by Leonie Swan. It's a murder mystery with an elderly group of people, and someone in their neighborhood is either shot or dies in some way. And so Agatha and her crew are like, oh good, we can bust out Lilith, this woman whose dead body we've been hiding, and say that the same murderer killed both of these women. I'm like, wait a minute, why do you have the dead body of Lilith in hiding? I don't know. I just think that sounds like it could be really funny or weird, or I don't know, but I'm here to try it out. We'll see together. And then these 2 I have heard of. The Invisible Husband of Frick Island by Colleen Oakley is about a woman who pretends that her husband, who has passed away, is still alive. And Frick Island, her neighbors who live on the island with her, play along. They all pretend that her husband is still alive. I feel like this is going to deal with grief and relationships and kind of a found family of people on the island who really care for this woman. I feel like I'm going to really love this one. And then the 5th one is Jeanette Wall's book, Hang the Moon. This is a historical fiction, which is great because I love historical fiction. Sally is the daughter of a big man in a small town, turn of the 20th century. It's going to deal with prohibition, I believe. And this girl left her family when she was younger, and the dad got remarried, and now she comes back to kind of want to claim her place or find her place in this family again, something along those lines. So I'm going to start, I think, with this Agnes Sharp one because I'm just so curious. I'm really hopeful that it's kind of silly and a lighthearted mystery. That's what I'm hoping for. The first line says, it has a prologue. So the first line says, Hetty felt hot. Well, that's all right. But then she had spent too much time on her sunstone, and the afternoon heat had got into her shell and was incessantly buzzing around in her head. Okay, so Hetty is the turtle. I don't know how I feel about that. Chapter 1 goes up to page 20. So I'm going to go ahead and read the prologue up to page 20 and let you know what I think. We'll see. Okay, I finished the first chapter and prologue of The Sunset Years of Agnes Sharp. The prologue was weird. There's a tortoise named Hetty, and Hetty is the one who found a neighbor or found one of the bodies. And we don't know exactly who she found yet, but then walked away. That's the prologue. That's it from the turtle's perspective. Then in chapter 1, we meet a lot of characters. So Agnes owns this home and multiple people live in there. Marshall, Edwina, Agnes herself, Winston lives upstairs, and Lilith, but we learn really quickly that Lilith has been shot in the head. And she's out in the shed. And they didn't tell the police because they don't know where the gun is. So they don't know if Lilith shot herself or if one of them shot her. We don't know. That's still a mystery. I will say that I did not find the writing to be very engaging. I wasn't drawn in, and I don't know if that's because there are so many characters or if it's just a little bit quirky. I normally can handle a little bit quirky, but I wasn't connecting with the writing of this one. And also it has 350 pages, which feels a little long for this mystery, but I'm not writing it off. It wasn't totally unenjoyable. It was just not maybe quite as engaging as I was hoping right from the beginning. As of right now, that's the first one. So I'm going to rank these eventually as I read them and see which one I'm going to add to my TBR for the month. So I can't read any more right now though, because I have to run out and go do a few things, but I'll read another one when I come back. This will be a vlog style try chapter. All right. I am back from my grief group that I went to and ready to do another chapter to try. So I'm just going to go to the top of the pile, Something in the Air by Suzanne Enoch. This should be a fun, looks like a rom-com. I don't know how funny it's going to be. Let's see. Altogether, it is 341 pages. So we're going to page 23 altogether. There is a prologue and then chapter 1. The first sentence of the prologue says, Emmeline Hervey caught her mother by the elbow. Not very exciting. Did I just hear you tell Cousin Penelope that we're vacating Winover Hall? What? Why would you tell her that? What's the actual first sentence of chapter 1? This prologue is like 10 pages long. That's a long prologue. Chapter 1 says 8 years, 4 months, and 13 days later. Okay, so that's why the prologue is so long. We're setting up, I bet, the marriage of these two people. Emmeline Pershing sipped her tea, then set it down with a smile. Okay, not the greatest first sentences, but let me go ahead and read the first 23 pages or so, and I'll come back and tell you what I think. I just finished the first chapter and prologue of Something in the Air, which brought me to page 24. And this is going to be really cute, I think. So we follow Emmeline. Emmeline has lived in this estate, Winover Hall, for her whole life, but her grandfather is actually the one who owns the building, the land. And he has these rules about it that when one family vacates, the next person in the family line to get married gets to live in the hall. So Emmeline's parents are going to move to Bath because of her father's health. And so they're vacating the estate. Emmeline has just turned 18. And so she has a chance to be the next one to live in the hall. Only problem is she's not engaged to be married. So she convinces her longtime friend, William, who's 2 years older than her, to marry her for a marriage of convenience so that she can live in the hall. That was all in the prologue. Then in chapter 1, we're 8 years later. Will has political aspirations and she's fantastic at helping him achieve his political goals by hosting soirees and dinner parties and talking with wives of some of the men that he works with so that they would vote the same way he wants them to or whatever. Turns out, though, the grandpa is turning 70 and is going to have this huge party where he lives. He's kind of a recluse, but he's inviting his whole family up there so he can see his whole bloodline. Part of the deal of living in this house is that you have to have an heir within 5 years to continue the bloodline. Emmeline and Will have a marriage of convenience, and they tried at the beginning to have an heir, but they didn't try hard or for very long. She was told by a doctor that she probably can't have kids if she hasn't had them yet, not understanding the full circumstances of things. So she's just like, forget it, don't worry about it. And she made up that they have 2 kids in her letters to her grandfather so that they could stay at Winover Hall. Will, in the meantime, we haven't really seen it yet, but on the back, it kind of hints at the fact that he actually does love her. I've seen like little tiny glimpses of it, and I think she loves him too, but she doesn't let herself go there. So I feel like this is going to be really cute. How are they going to get these two kids to bring them to Grandpa's house for his party? I don't know. She just had an idea about one of the couples coming over for dinner has two kids. She's like, bring your children. So I don't know if she's going to try to borrow kids from someone else, if they're going to adopt two kids. I don't really know, but I feel like it's going to be really cute. And I am at this point more interested in continuing Something in the Air than The Sunset Years of Agnes Sharp. So I'm putting it on top. And we are moving on to the next one. I'm going to go ahead to the third one that I don't know anything about. Agatha of Little Neon by Claire Luchette. This one is a really short one. It has very short chapters. And without looking at any words, it looks like it's 271 pages. And there's 90 chapters. Oh my word. I might read the first 2 chapters because that only brings me to page 8. So part 1 is Poverty. And the first line says, Mother Roberta made the rules. No chewing gum, no bicycles, no tree nuts, no pets. Okay. I'm going to read the first 2 chapters of this one. At least get a little bit of an idea. I'll be back. Okay. I have read actually the first 4 chapters of Agatha of Little Neon. I just kept going because I needed to know a little bit more about what was going on. So I read 15 pages. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. It feels the most literary so far of the ones that I've read. In it, we follow Agatha, Mother Roberta, and 3 other women who are sisters that live in this house in Lackawanna, which is just outside Buffalo, New York, which is fun because that's near where I went to college. I guess I went to college south of Buffalo. Also lived in Rochester and Syracuse. So I'm like upstate central New York area, which is kind of fun. And then their diocese is going bankrupt. And so these 4 women have to move. Mother Roberta is going to retire. She's not going to go with them, but the 4 girls, Agatha and her 3 friend sisters, are going to move. And they just have been kind of told they're going to go to this house in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, which is kind of fun because that's near where I lived when I was in Massachusetts. So it's kind of fun. I knew all the names of the different places that were being mentioned. We don't know very much about their personalities yet. They're all kind of really connected to each other. It said our faith was firm and founded. We were fixed to one another like parts of some strange asymmetrical body. Frances was the mouth, Mary, Lucille, the heart, Therese, the legs, and I, Agatha, the eyes. So I'm wondering how that will play in as they go to Woonsocket. So in Woonsocket, there is a transitional house, housing for addicts or homeless people who are wanting to transition out of their lifestyle into something different. So these 4 women, I think, are going to go and run the house. That's about all I know. I will probably put this one on the bottom. Honestly, I'm not interested, but I'm also not very interested in continuing. So far, this is the order. I'm curious still about all of them, but none of them has like completely made me want to like dive right in, and I don't want to stop reading. So maybe one of these 2 will do that for me. The Invisible Husband of Frick Island is the next one, Colleen Oakley. This is one of the ones I had heard about. Altogether, this has 334 pages, so it's not too long. Chapter 1 is about 9 pages. Oh, there's a map. Here we have Frick Island, populated only on the one side. Very small. I wonder where it is. So chapter 1 starts out with a little subtitle, The Storm. At first, when Piper scanned the docks and didn't see the familiar rickety white pine and fir fisherman's trawler, she thought nothing of it. Is chapter 1 going to be like a flashback? Yeah, it's in a different typeface than chapter 2. So there's something different about this first chapter. I thought it was just the first chapter, but I do see other bits and bops. I'm not sure, but I'm going to go ahead and read this little bit here and let you know what I think. We'll see. I actually read the first 2 chapters of The Invisible Husband of Frick Island because I was invested, which I love. This is the first one that really drew me in really quickly. So yeah, the first chapter was like the past, and it told the story of Piper and Tom and kind of their love story and how they first started dating when they were in high school, and just kind of gave us a glimpse into the love that these two shared. Young love. They had only been married about a year. They both grew up on the island, took the ferry over to go to school off the island. Tom is a fisherman, a waterman, like his father, and his father, his grandfather, were before him. The day when they went out to do their fishing, there was a storm in the morning, and Tom had called in, but it was really choppy and it broke up before anyone could get his coordinates. And so the Coast Guard went out to find him. Piper was sitting on the bench waiting for him like she does every day at the end of the day, and his boat never comes in. They end up finding the boat at the bottom of the water, at the bottom of the bay, Chesapeake Bay, but they don't find his body. So she kind of holes up in her carriage house, doesn't even go to the memorial service. But then the last line of chapter 1 says, well, they weren't just reminders of Tom, they were promises, just thinking of like things around her house, of their house. He was going to come home. Of that one thing, Piper was sure. And then one morning, just like that, he did. What? So, I mean, I know that he doesn't, but her mind makes her think he did, I guess. And then we go a couple months later, 4 months later, chapter 2, we're over on the mainland, and we follow Anders, who is a journalist, newspaper man, and he gets assigned to go cover the cakewalk on Frick Island. So then we get to know Anders a little bit of his backstory, his journalistic desires, his ex Celeste, and why they broke up. And we get to meet his sister, who calls and tries to set him up on a dating service, and he's not interested. And then he goes over to the island, and it's like no small town that he's ever seen before. No cars, no cell service, like broken down buildings. It's just like he's very much out of his element. So I am very curious where the story is going to go from there. So this one is definitely going right on the top of the pile. So that's the order so far. I have one left to try. So we're going to dive into Hang the Moon by Jeanette Walls. This is a book of the month copy. This came out just last year, I think. It has 346 pages. But the first chapter is pretty short. So by 17, I'm done with the first chapter. But it does have a prologue and then chapter 1. The prologue is longer than the first chapter. The first line of this one says, "The fastest girl in the world, that's what I'm going to be." Okay. Let's see if she does it. Chapter 1 starts out with, "The sun will show itself soon. Our house is near the bottom of the mountain, not too far from the train tracks, with another mountain rising directly across from us. So we've got ourselves only a narrow stretch of sky overhead." Okay. So I'm eager to see how I feel about this one. Let's check it out. All right, now it's almost dark out. And I finished the first chapter and prologue of Hang the Moon by Jeanette Walls. She's a really good storyteller. So the prologue was mainly the story of this man, Duke, and his daughter, Sally. He had bought her a present and took her up to the carriage house, and it's a wagon. And they I guess the carriage house is up on a hill at the top of their property, and they ride the wagon down to the bottom of the hill. And that was the biggest part of the prologue, but it really, the way that she told it, you could see the love between this father and daughter. You got to know Sally and how she's a little bit precocious, and they pass by Jane, the new stepmom, and Eddie, her stepbrother, sitting at the piano. You kind of get to know little glimpses of each member of this family through this story of them riding the wagon down the hill. Later in the prologue, Sally, who is only about 8 years old, she decides she's going to teach her little brother how to ride the wagon as well, thinking that he needs to have a little bit of fun. He's often kind of kept cooped up in the house because he tends to be a little bit sickly. And of course, when they are riding the wagon spills or the little boy gets spooked by a bump or something and yanks the steering wheel and they spill and it knocks him out. And so the mom is done. She's over it. And Sally gets sent away to live with an aunt who's a little bit like driving distance away, but not. I mean, this is in the early 1900s. And so Duke is the first one to have a car. Everybody else still does horse and carriage. Chapter 1 was really short, and we see Sally a number of years later. I think it's been 9 years that she's still living with her aunt. And then this boy named Tom comes in his big green car that she knows is Duke's to pick her up, to bring her home. She said she's been waiting for 9 years for that to happen. Aunt Faye does not get to go home with her. And yeah, so she's about to head back to her house where she grew up, and she hasn't seen her dad in a couple of years. He used to come and visit, but he hasn't in a while. Yeah, I just was very drawn in by her storytelling, and I'm definitely very interested to continue. But I think I'm still, where am I going to put this in the batch? I think I'm still the most interested in reading Frick Island. And then I'm just really curious about this one. So I think this would be number 3 for me. So here's the stack altogether. I'm the least interested in Agatha of Little Neon. I'm not sure it will be for me. I know one of you said that you have read it recently in the comments. If anyone else has read this, let me know what you think of it. Then the next to last would be The Sunset Years of Agnes Sharp by Leonie Swan. I think I was more intrigued by the blurb that the librarian had given me about this one than I was by the actual writing of it. I'm still curious, but not super eager. And then these 3 I'm definitely planning on reading. So Hang the Moon by Jeanette Walls, definitely really good storytelling. This is just, I think, the vibes of what I'm interested in right now. That little bit of romantic comedy, but it's between a husband and wife. And how are they gonna get kids, and how are they gonna deceive the family? Or are they? I don't know. I don't know where it's gonna go from here, but I'm interested in watching the romance kind of develop between the two of them because they have such a strong friendship. So yeah, I'm very interested in that one. And then the one that drew me in the most for sure was The Invisible Husband of Frick Island by Colleen Oakley. It makes sense. This is the one that I've heard of the most of this stack of books. So I'm going to continue reading this actually. And so hopefully you'll see this and maybe 1 or 2 other ones on my April wrap up at the end of the month. I think all in all, the librarian really did a good job. Even if I end up not reading these 2, the fact that she gave me a list of 10 books, 5 of them I have already read and really enjoyed. And then 3 of the other 5, I'm very interested in reading. And 2, I would read still, but I'm not very eager. If I can find them on audio, maybe that will be better. But yeah, I feel like it was really good. I feel like it was really good overall. Check out your library, get recommendations from your librarians. They're fantastic. I hope that you enjoyed this Try a Chapter. I always love doing this. It's been a while since I've done one. Let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these or if you would pick the same order based on what I thought of the first chapters. And that's going to be it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you hanging out with me for a little bit. You're the best. And I look forward to talking with you in another video very soon. Bye.